Assault isn't a bad class, it's just harder. 1 Chaos and 1 Tyranid mission on absolute difficulty. Yeah, they have pictures here showing off some stats. I still believe Assault needs buffs, not because you can't do well, but because doing well is so much easier on other classes. I had to play perfectly with almost no mistakes to earn these numbers. Alright, before I cut in here, let's take a look at the numbers. So, Exfiltration, 20,000 melee damage, and check out that range damage as well. I wish they said what weapon they were using. They're playing with the tactical and a bulwark. They almost out. Oh, actually, no, they did. They did out damage the tactical with just melee here. As you can see with the special kills, I bet you they were taking on a lot of extra enemies. Now, the range damage. This is the one thing I want to point out. I'll check out the other stats also, but the range damage for Assault right now is super good, dude, because we have the plasma pistol. The heavy bolt pistol is really good after the rework, and not to mention the Inferno pistol can also stack up range damage pretty insane. I think it is really not uncommon for me when I'm playing Assault to like stack up like range damage close to 10,000, melee damage close or over 10,000. It's incredibly easy to get 20,000 total damage as the Assault class right now. But yeah, let's check out the Chaos, because this is Fall of Atreus. Melee damage 18,000. Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of enemies. 11 special kills. Holy cow. Man, they were probably struggling on one of the objectives or something. And then range damage 7,000. So more here, right? Yep. So more with the Chaos. In the Chaos mission, they actually have more damage total. Oh, check out this sniper. 15,000 range damage. Sniper Assault teams, I think, are seriously in a good spot right now. And then you have a heavy. The heavy has 10,000. Yeah, this is actually a really good team. This is a really good team. Let me check out the incapacitations here. Yeah, that's fine. Dude, this looks good. This looks really good. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to use this post as a way to introduce the discussion that I think the Assault class is a lot better than we think, in a sense. Now, I do agree with their point here, where Assault probably does need 1 or 2 buffs for sustainability. But as far as their effectiveness goes, it is just as good, or maybe better, than most classes as far as overall DPS. Now, the one class that I think can give the Assault class a run for its money when it comes to DPS, well, I'll say 2 classes right here, Heavy and Sniper. I think Tactical can put out some good damage, but normally Tactical either has to commit to ranged or melee attacks, depending on their build. For Assault builds right now, you can just put on the Inferno pistol, and congratulations, you're now a ranged damage dealer. You're now a ranged damage dealer playing a melee build. You know, like, that's probably how stuff like this happens, where you stack up super, like, a large amount of melee damage, and then his range damage is probably purely from, like, the plasma or the heavy bolt pistol without any support. And I have used Assault builds where they support the range damage, and you'll be surprised. You can put out as much range damage as any class in the game. The Sniper can still put out a lot of range damage. It depends. The one great way to stack up your range damage is through meltas. So even if you have the Inferno pistol as Assault, you're still going to lose out on total DPS to a Heavy that is using, you know, the multi-melta. So I just wanted to reiterate. I just want to mention that the Assault class, as far as DPS goes, could be the strongest class in the game. Just for total DPS, it's up there. It's at least, you know, on par with Heavy and Sniper. And I think that's very interesting. I think that's a great spot for the class to be in. But of course, I think it needs like 1 or 2 buffs here just for sustainability. But ultimately, as we've been covering in the past, you can use your jetpack to dodge practically everything in this game, and it does feel really good. So even though it's a bit tedious to survive as Assault, I think Assault has all the tools you need for a class to be successful in higher difficulties. It's a bad class because of the reasons you described. It has been in this state since launch. They have ample time to figure it out, but never did. Why doesn't Assault have health regeneration mechanics? Okay, hold on. Let me just jump in here. Now, this is definitely something I've been supporting for a while, and the more I am playing Assault, and the better you get at it, I have to admit, I think giving Assault Adrenaline Rush could be a little bit overpowered. Now, don't hold on. Give me a second. Okay. The argument I'm making in this video is I think this class does a lot more DPS than we think, and I think this class potentially has the highest DPS total in the game as far as ranged and melee damage. Now, of course, we have seen heavies drop 30,000 damage games with the multi-melta. I'm not saying the assault can do that. And also the heavy doesn't have adrenaline rush. It does not have built-in health regeneration mechanics. It does, however, have bonds of brotherhood. Okay? So, I think with the assault class, it is not 100% necessary to give it health regeneration through executions. That said, I do think there's a way we can give it health regeneration when it has low health. You know what I mean? Like the assault class with 30 or maybe 40% of their health remaining gives them 5% healing on execution, something like that. Or maybe just give it temporary in the sense where it's like, if you get an extremist execution, then the next, I don't know, for like, I was gonna say for like 5 minutes, but I think that's way too long. Yeah, honestly, just run Vanguard and put on Unmatched Zeal. No, kidding. But yeah, I think to sustain assault, we can get a little bit more creative than just heals on executions, because there are some games where I'm looking at my health bar. I still have like 90% health. We're through the operation. I have one stim I didn't use, and then I realized, oh wow, I've been parrying everything this entire time, and I didn't need any healing because my teammates didn't steal stims. I had stims here and there. Maybe I used one stim. I honestly think it's just a little bit of healing to get assault to feel more comfortable. You don't need adrenaline rush, but you do need something where it's like if you're at 25% health or something, you get heals until you're at 50% health or something like that. Now in absolute, that's still going to be a little bit tough to deal with. So I think that still can kind of put assault in a weird spot considering how aggressive assault players normally play. But I still think with Duelist, the fact that, the assault has great gun strike potential, it has heightened dodge frames. I think the way they want us to play assault is more fast and not really brute force it. Essentially play assault with a quality build. Play it with dexterity and strength, and not just strength, essentially, which may feel a little bit, if you don't understand my point here, I'm saying the assault class definitely takes a little bit of skill for their survivability, and in absolute, to clean up your mistakes, yeah, you definitely need something to balance that out a bit, because you're going to stick your neck out with this class quite a bit in absolute. So yes, having some sort of small built-in health regeneration, I can see can make that class a little bit more effective in absolute. However, I'm just pointing this out. I do think Adrenaline Rush would be a little bit overpowered for Assault, because I think the Assault's DPS is insane right now. So there's no nerfs necessary. There's honestly no buffs necessary, depending on how you look at the class. I just think, yeah, maybe a little bit more damage resistance, maybe some sort of plan B for heals. You don't really need a built-in healing all the time, okay? Let me know in the comments if you guys think I'm off there. I know I kind of described that a little bit poorly, but my main point is the heavy does a lot of damage, has bonds of brotherhood, doesn't really need built-in healing. You know what I mean? So assault class has a lot of built-in damage, does not have bonds of brotherhood, benefits greatly from unmatched zeal, but still has, a lot of DPS. So I don't know. I think there's ways we can definitely figure out how to keep assault sustainable without giving him just built-in healing, because I think if you gave, I'll say it, if you gave me Adrenaline Rush with assault right now, I don't think I'd fail in operation. I think I could potentially just carry players, because I'd just be taking out majors after majors after majors. I just stay healed the entire time, and then my teammates really only need to just contribute on the terminus. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm off on that, but I think the more I'm starting to play Assault, the more I'm starting to realize how insanely strong it is. But okay, let's continue. Or at least a reasonable way to recover contested health. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I probably should have finished this, right? Melee damage is hard to recover contested health from. It's bad. Okay, yeah, 100%. I agree. That's probably where the tough part of this class is. But you got to keep in mind, they do have the heavy bolt pistol, which is one of the best contested health regeneration weapons in the game. And also the plasma, which can still do that almost as well. It's bad because it hasn't been touched in any reasonable ways. The armor pickup perks, ugh, what the F, Saber. I want to love Assault, I really do, but it's just not good when compared to literally any other class. Yeah, see, that I know I'm bringing out hot takes here, but I get it. I understand why people think Assault's like a bad class because of its I guess it's skill ceiling, but still the way you have to sustain yourself as Assault, sometimes you got to jump through hoops, and I think people are kind of getting tired of doing that essentially. So it needs like something like Adrenaline Rush or a simple way to heal could make this class a lot easier to play. But should it be easier to play, I guess? I don't know. I just think the DPS is really, really strong. So as soon as you're able to get the most out of that class, you're kind of not really looking at healing the way you do with other classes. Because with Assault, I just think the DPS is so insane. It's like, when do I need healing? I need healing eventually, but it's not now because I'm playing well. You know what I mean? Running high difficulty on Assault can definitely be done, but yeah, it's just a lot trickier than all the other classes. In my opinion, there's two reasons. It's a melee-focused class with almost no sustained health regeneration. Over the course of a long mission, your health is just going to get gradually chipped away. Any mistake, you're basically messed up. Yeah, he's right. he's right about this. But okay, hold on. The thing is about melee-focused class is, okay, let's look at the Bulwark, for example. Bulwark doesn't really have that many ways to increase their range damage, correct? Okay. Vanguard, the only way you can increase the Vanguard's range damage is if you get executions, I believe. Or your grapples on cooldown, something like that, right? Both those melee classes do have health sustain, but their range damage, I will say right now, isn't as good as the Assault class. it's not, which is kind of crazy. This is something that's definitely just starting to, that I'm just starting to absorb this because I've been playing a lot of Assault recently, and it's basically coming after playing a lot of Bulwark. And Bulwark can definitely get range damage, don't get me wrong, but Bulwark doesn't have ample ammunition. Bulwark doesn't have built-in weapon, damage support as much as the Assault does. And not to mention, the Assault also can take a lot more opportunities to get gun strikes because of how good perfect dodging is with the Assault. So I just think, yes, of course Bulwark is going to be tankier because it needs to be in front of the enemies more often. I think if you're playing Assault where you're in the face of the enemy, basically just try to avoid being surrounded as Assault, okay? Because yes, as Assault, you are melee focused, but you still need to be in a good position. You can't just slam into a group of enemies and start swinging your hammer, and then getting chipped away because you're not hitting the gaunts, and then getting mad at the sustainability of the Assault class. You see what I'm saying? I know, dude, this is definitely, there's a lot of hot takes in this video now that I'm kind of like, I'm kind of on the board of Assault getting buffs, but I still think the class is a lot better than we think. That is essentially what I'm trying to get at in this video. Because, yeah, even the damage numbers we saw above, it's really not that difficult to jump into any operation with Assault, pick up a ranged weapon, pick up a melee weapon, and at the end of the operation, it's like, oh, wow, I have 10,000 of each. That's crazy. I don't even know if I built the class right. So, I don't know. Even though the punishment is definitely there, even though you can definitely get punished pretty hard playing this class, I just think the tools it has to just put out insane amount of DPS is probably the best spot this class has been in. And I think that's also the best way you can sustain yourself, is to just pick good targets to take out, further weakening the mobs that you're dealing with. Don't jump into the middle of the fight thinking you're just going to be able to swing off on everybody, because the assault is clearly not built that way. You're more of an in and out type of build. You go in there, you take out the Majoress, you dodge away, get all of the enemies within your screen, and then look for the next enemy to take out. If you're getting surrounded by gaunts, boom, Inferno Pistol, boom, Plasma Pistol. Maybe you have a jetpack left to, you can always use the dodge to just get out of tough situations. But yeah, see, here's the thing. And when you're getting surrounded by gaunts, if you have blocking, that's when the chip damage starts to feel very punishing. Because with blocking, you can't just take out, you can't just press parry over and over again just to take out all the gaunts. I've also done that with this class before. So, but you can put Duelist on this class and run balanced and effectively do what I just said, or fencing if you want. You can just sit there against waves of gaunts and parry them. So it's more of like a play around blocking thing, I think, rather than the class actually not being able to perform well in higher difficulties. The Ops jump pack sucks. Assault's ability is really hard to get value out of compared to the banner or Allspecs, for example. Limited distance, can only jump 10 feet ahead if you're looking uphill. Can't use it to jump over a lot of gaps that it probably should. Can't jump over a 2-foot railing because there's invisible walls everywhere. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to jump over railings. That's not a priority to me. I think I'd jump over a railing directly into a spot where I'd be, I'd jump into a glitch spot where I couldn't get out of. That's pretty much the luck I have when it comes to jumping over railings. I guess I guess I have an issue with railings, but that's just kind of how I envision that. There's practically no reason to jump over a railing. Just feels kind of jank to use sometimes. I mean, I agree, but okay, you know what? Let me push back on this. The original poster also responded to this comment, so I want to read what they said also. But yeah, I'll push back on this. I think when it comes to the jump pack, I get it. It is jank. Yeah, that's fine. Well, it's not fine, I guess, but it is what it is. The jetpack. The jetpack I've been using for repositioning more often than not nowadays. Well, you can hit 2 birds with 1 stone, right? You pick the enemy that is the easiest to jump pack or to ground slam. Normally that enemy is kind of separated from the rest of the mob, or at the very least he's at the tip of the mob. So you can use the jetpack, jump over the mob, hit the major, and now the mob is directly in front of you, where you can pull out that Inferno Pistol, take out a bunch of gaunts, execute the mob you just ground slammed, and now now the mob is basically dispersed, and from there you can start taking out single targets. That's pretty much how you kind of want to play this class. You know what I mean? You kind of need to pick the right target. You can't just directly jump into a wave of mobs and then get chip damage again. And then you're like, oh god, I need a stim. It's like, yeah, you're not paying attention. There's a sniper right there that is like keying in on you. You should have took out that sniper first or something. I don't know. You know what I mean though? It's basically the jump pack. Yeah, I understand it's jank, but I think it's one of the best reposition tools in the game, and we really need to take advantage of that. Prestiging Assault was brutal, even on lethal. You get a bad extreme spawn, you just lose. So I'm currently prestiging Assault. I don't really have a good strat for it, to be completely honest. Like with Bulwark, it's like, oh, as soon as you get Purity of Purpose and Intimidating Aura, you can jump into lethal or absolute. Boom, easy way to level up. And then, like, you know, with Assault, I don't really have like a perk that I'm aiming for to get that done, you know what I mean? Basically, it just boils down to how good you are with blocking. At the very least, I understand that extra gunstrike damage team perk is really good. It's definitely still really good. So I think in higher difficulties, you would want to pick that. I think Squad Cohesion is a great beginning team perk, to be completely honest. I think Squad Cohesion definitely aged a bit well when it comes to the prestige grind. But yeah, everything else on the top of my head, I can't really think of anything. Like, Ample Ammunition, I think, is just in a confusing spot right now because people think it's bugged. I thought it was bugged because the icon wasn't coming up. And somebody in the comments, definitely, shout out to Warrior, I think pointed out in a different video. I did pin that comment also, that the ample ammunition is not bugged, just the icon is bugged. So you're still getting your range damage benefits from that perk. So whenever you use your jetpack, you're getting 50% extra range damage. With the plasma pistol, with the heavy bolt pistol, with the Inferno pistol, you're getting a lot of good damage out of that. But yeah, so let me jump into the original poster's response to this, because I think this is a good comment. Most of the criticisms are pretty much here in a way. So yeah, let's jump into that. Let's see what the original poster has to say. With my setup, I can one-shot Major's enemies with a ground pound and deal tremendous damage to Extremists while making the cooldown 30% faster. I mean, yeah, one-shotting Majorus is not something that's difficult for this Assault class. I mean, the only other class that I think has one-shot potential, I guess, would be Sniper and Heavy. And that is one-shot into Execution, is what I mean. Even Terminus enemies can be bullied by the jump pack. Carnifex, Helpers, even the Hive Tyrant, they all get stunned. Almost all their attacks can be canceled by a well-timed ground pound. Yep, name me another class that can do that, guys, in the comments. No, seriously, I couldn't tell you if this is recreatable in any other class. But however, I am very, very aware of how strong the stun capability for the ground slam is. This even includes the big AoE pulses from the Hive Tyrant unleashed at the start of the Phase 2. This means basically nothing to lower difficulty less experienced players, but it goes hard when used correctly. In my opinion, Jump Pack is a great ability, though they could improve its height range currently. Assault isn't lacking in the damage department, it's the staying alive bit that can be proven tricky. So you're saying height range, certainly. Okay, they could improve the height and range of the jump pack, and staying alive can be tricky. I think the jump pack is fine for the most part. I think if they gave it more height, I just don't want to jump into a glitch area. That's pretty much the only concern I have. I still think Assault can use some help regenerating contested health or getting a way to heal up a bit by fighting well. See, that's exactly what I agree also with. As far as the contested health, yeah, melee with contested health is definitely a little bit weird. We covered this before, and basically the only theory we have for why contested health is a little bit weird for melee is because when you're surrounded by gaunts, they don't want you to be invincible. Because essentially, if you were able to just get full contested health with each swing, when you're fighting gaunts, you would just be able to swing off and they wouldn't be able to do any chip damage. And I think the chip damage in this game is something the devs definitely, focus on as far as what is really going to eat up your resources. If you get hit by a sniper shot in Absolute, you shouldn't have. that's pretty much how the devs look at this, I think, sometimes. Not all the time. But for Assault, that's pretty much how it is. Or getting a way to heal up a bit by fighting well. Yeah, I just think Assault needs something like if they're below 50% health, they can get some heals from doing something, It feels like sometimes you do really well and sometimes you just die while feeling like there's nothing you could have done better. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I feel like that's pretty much a good way to, summarize it 100%. Getting punished as Assault feels 2 times as worse than any other class, essentially. But with that said, I think Assault can kill things 2 times better than any other class when you consider melee and ranged. I still think Heavy and Sniper when it comes to DPS, and Tactical, I think, for the most part, when it comes to DPS. I think Assault's on par with them, but I still think in certain games, Assault can seriously just double their DPS total just because they have a build that is putting out tremendous amount of range damage, and then you have a fully upgraded Thunderhammer where you're getting one-shot slams, and it's like you're able to deal with everything. You're able to deal with everything. You're just not able to heal yourself. So essentially, I think this class is a little bit better than we thought. I think this class definitely has the tools to be like the best class in the game. Maybe. I think that could be a hot take. But yeah, the DPS for Assault is definitely underrated. So I definitely wanted to cover that to let people know, like, look, Assault's bad in one area. And that area, depending on how good you are with this class, can be completely avoided. It is still probably the only class that can stun Terminus enemies. The class can effortlessly put up a lot of melee and range damage. And not to mention, with the dodging, the jetpack dodging, if you get good at that, this class is probably the hardest class to land a hit on outside of jumping up in the air and slamming down and getting hit by a sniper. So, yeah. Ultimately, I just wanted to point out that I think this class is a lot better than people thought. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Do you think this is a little bit too much of a hot take? Or do you think, the Assault class is fine, maybe just needs a little bit of survivability buffs? We will see. A lot of this does remain to be seen for Siege mode, though. Because I can imagine, without any healing, or Unmatched Zeal, Bonds of Brotherhood, Invigorating Icon, any of those, I can imagine this class would have a hard time surviving. That goes without saying. Definitely understand that. That's why it's a good time to have this conversation. But yeah, ultimately, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. And thanks for watching.